So what's behind all of those crates? I want to know, and quite a few of you also voted to say this is what you want to know about the most. Well, as you can see, there are a lot of crates, and each experiment trigger will only remove a single one. And you can bet it won't just let us remove enough crates to pass through, and instead it will do it in a way that prolongs the process as much as possible. But as we go, we can imagine Aunt Babbage having to run back and forth removing those crates, and she's the only one that comes around to the house now. My most successful strategy for this has been using the draft upgraded floor plan trigger. I have a bunch of upgraded rooms, including the hallway that adds more hallways, and each of those counts as an upgraded room. 11 triggers on the first day. We can go slightly deeper, but still plenty of crates remaining. I can also see what appears to be a stone table behind the next layer of crates, so when we get there we may be able to find something. Next time I got 5 triggers by unlocking security doors, but that led to no meaningful progress. A fun experiment to run is the one where you pay 10 steps to open your map. Wouldn't want to play like this, but that means you can just dump your accumulated steps into experiment triggers. So with those extra 7 triggers, we can now get to the stone table in the tunnel. There's a file cabinet key here. Previously, we have used those to open drawers in the archive room, so that's my immediate thought here, since we only opened 2 of the drawers in that one cabinet. But there's still a wall of boxes here, so we are definitely not done. I drafted the archives, but it turns out this key does not work here. Now, there are more places with those cabinets around the estate, so we'll have to figure this out. 15 more experiment triggers using upgraded floor plans on the next day, and we can now see the end of the tunnel. Or well, the back wall with a door in it. It's just a normal locked door. Nothing special. Behind it, there is a basement door. Unfortunately, the mastered key can't override this, so I'm actually going to have to make a trip to the Antechamber for this one. Good thing I drafted up my house to get access there. Basement key, you're coming with us. We open the basement door and inside, there's a keycard door. Well, I got that one on me, so we open up that door and inside, there's a boarded up door. But on the side we got a wall with a depression we can break through with the power hammer. Unfortunately, I do not have the battery on this day, so we'll have to get back to this. Meanwhile, I had an idea about the cabinet key. Since the stone table has a mining hat on it, maybe it's something to do with the mining operations going on underground. There was a little office to the side of the gear room, so let's check in there. Yep, there's a file cabinet and a drawer to open here. Inside it, a letter to the Baroness of Mount Holly. Now, those mining operations were going on at the beginning of the century, where our great-grandfather was the Baron here. So the Baroness would be Baroness Auravelli. We've seen her picture around. She's the one wearing the rogue moon pendant. The note inside talks about numeric cores. By the Third Era, numeric cores had fallen completely out of favor and were no longer being included in proofs by serious arithmeticians. This concept, once considered sacred, was now regarded as an over-engineered concept that only served to slow further advancement in the field, as Philip Wilkins once famously put it. Steps to find a numeric core. Take any number with 4 or more digits. Without changing the sequence, split the number into 4 smaller numbers. Example 86455 becomes 86455. Next, assign each a different color, resulting in a valid mathematical equation that produces the smallest whole number possible. The first number should always be assigned teal to begin with a positive number. For example, 8 minus 6 times 45 divided by 5. If the result is a number with more than 3 digits, repeat the above process. The final number you obtain that is less than 4 digits is considered the numeric core of a larger number, for example 18. The second page is the same breakdown, just with all of the text around it. I think this is also what is kind of done on the second note in the hovel, but the large number it starts with is itself formed from individual numbers that describe something about the house. But then when the operations are performed, you get 8, which we've seen multiple mentions of being a significant number in this universe. Now, I've seen a bunch of numbers around that could be chord, but I've not yet been doing any puzzles where I would need numbers like that. Maybe I haven't seen them yet, or maybe there's a whole new layer I'm currently oblivious to. Maybe there's a secret code to the dartboard. But once I discover something about this, I will of course share it with you. Back to the tunnel. I make my power hammer and I'm ready to smash through that wall. Fortunately, all the doors down here stay unlocked across the day, so we don't need to have all the keys on the same day. And once we're through, there is another door. This is the high pressure condenser door that needs the boiler room, so we're going to need to draft that one. We know about this one from opening the previous door like it, and that one had some good secrets behind it. So what do we have over here? Oh, it's a candle door. Well, luckily I have all the pieces I need to make the burning glass. By now, this tunnel feels pretty significant because we've been tested on all kind of door opening methods we have gathered across the game. So this is a big progression check. They don't want us to get in here unless we understand all of this. And behind the calendar door we have a microchip door. Well, we left our microchips in the orchard, so time to take a little walk and get them in here. After this one, the door opening methods are specific keys that we can use around the house, or the antechamber levers. So let's see what we get now. Well, that is a new one. And it doesn't just open as we approach it. As I was saying, this tunnel feels like a progression check, which means I have not yet progressed far enough to have seen a door like this or learn how to open it. A whole new secret layer. And so, we're going to have to leave the tunnel for now and return once we know what to do here. Let's catch up on some other things I've done in the game then. Some time ago, I swapped my chest powers to get the Armory room, so this is one of a few ones I've been missing from my house directory. In the Armory, every day we can purchase any of 3 items. Standard ones are Shield, which lets us counter a red room, Morning Star, which is basically a sledgehammer that gives an extra star next day, and the self-igniting torch, replacement for the burning glass. But occasionally we can also get the axe, which lets us remove the gem cost of a room permanently. I can only presume this item is pretty limited, and what you want to axe will depend on the other setups in your draft. But now I have an axe rotunda, the office, and throne room. A couple of things I did not manage to do in my pre-Room 46 runs was to do with the burning glass. Setting up the dynamite in the trading post is actually possible, and it does reveal a small secret area the previous groundskeeper was using for his moonshine business. Well, at least we get to collect the money he left behind, and there is also an upgrade disc. The letter further mentions that he was using Christoph the driver to help him with this operation. Simon really needs to do some staff review once he proper takes over around here. Another area where we needed the burning glass was the tomb. One secret area we can open is all the way in the back. There's a coffin here for Clara, and behind her picture there's a key to her diary. Nearby there is also an allowance box and a letter. The letter is in Norwegian, and I don't yet know all of the words to be able to fully translate it. But the general vibe here seems to be saying goodbye to someone and talking about a house and future without them, so this would make sense as a letter written after someone has died. If I learn more about the language, I will attempt a better translation. There's another candle door in the tomb next to the entrance. When opened, it gives us 4 dice and an upgrade disc. Back to her ladyship's chamber to read her diary. Turns out it's a sleep diary, as she was having trouble sleeping. And to deal with that trouble, she decided to test sleeping in different rooms around the house to see if they had any different effects. This is of course a hint to us that we can experience different effects based on where we end the day. Ending the day in the ladyship's chamber means we will end up with 10 less steps, but we gain an additional star. Guest bedroom has no effect, and I also didn't see any effect from ending the day in the normal bedroom. The bank room caused her to find a flower in the tomb on her husband's grave, which is just one of those little gem flowers. Servant's quarter gives you about half the footsteps, but you get an extra die for the day. Finally, the master bedroom gives more footsteps. I tested this one and it gave me extra 10. This is where her research ends, and she leaves to help her daughter with her newborn child. This child is us, Simon. So we also get to learn that our birthday is somewhere just before January 28th. Do we need this information? I'm not sure, but here it is. But on the final page of this diary, we see this. This is clearly the spot where the outside room goes, but what is placed inside there looks like the antechamber. Well, we already know about using the monk's blessing to move rooms to the outside, so we just need to repeat that here. If we bring the antechamber outside, we do get the basement key as usual, but the note changes to say, so close, yet so far away. That's because if we use the lever to open the north door, we don't find room 46 here. Instead is the shrine statue with another note. Steady is the scepter, deadly is the stone, heavy is the crown, ready is the throne. Now, I think I know what this is referring to. We have our crown from room 46, and we have the throne room. The stone, I think, refers to the effigy from the cursed chest. Now, the scepter is not something I have, but I know about its existence because YouTube keeps recommending me that video about how to find it. So, well, I know it's an item in the game. And I also think that if we open the treasure trove chest, it might be what we find inside, considering it also involves placing an inside room on the outside. But I guess we will see. But I think once we have all of those items, we need to take them to the throne room and see what happens then. Speaking of crowns, the red crown from the closed exhibit can also be picked up. We could see on the map in the shelter that the security access was marked as being behind the crown, and we already know about the back access mechanic from the foundation. All we have to do here is disable all the security features and then run around before the whole thing resets. There's a timer, so you do need a fairly short route back because this kid cannot run. As an item, the crown allows us to redraw our initial draft if we didn't get any red rooms. Also useful for rehearsing museum burglary. With us caught up on all that, I think it's time to dive into the gallery. This is a room where we have to name 4 quite cryptic art pieces. There's a selection of 8 letters for each of the spots. Now, this is one of those puzzles where you're supposed to use homophones, metaphors, double meaning to work out the name from the various objects that are contained in the painting. But if English is not your first language, this one can be pretty hard. Fortunately, there's at least a couple hints for this. The will in room 46 tells us the first letter of each piece, and basically the length of the name so we can figure out which letter goes with each piece. Upon seeing that, I realized that one of the names for a piece of art in the final exam was realize, which could align with this. This piece here seems to me like it could be it, and it does work. My initial link was because it mentions an objective and you can realize your objectives, but with hindsight I can see the bottle adds up to genuine, and with the eyes you can then make a pun for genuine meaning real eyes, and that makes realize. There's also a very table, but I'm not sure how that exactly fits in. Having that given to me at least offered me an insight into how those puzzles are supposed to work. Next is this one saying think. And it's quite a silly one because the answer is think. Think. Doesn't seem to have as many layers as the first one. This has opened one of the chests in the room for us. And all we got was 2 gems. Now, on to this next one. Proven is not the answer here, just something I managed to get together from the first letters I had. I found this one quite hard because in my head I somehow got it backwards and kept thinking there is a P, which sounds kind of like therapy. But the answer is definitely not therapy. But doing it the other way, which is P on there, gives us on there. And for the final piece, by now we can see the theme in the room. think, ponder, realize. So this one is likely to be associated with similar concept. And it starts with R. While this looks like an infinity symbol, from previous references, this seems to be a specific way they represent 8 around here, which is in itself a special number. There is a room, 7 deadly sins, nails, a shark fin? Playing around with the concepts of thinking and the words like room and 8, I got to ruminate, which is the final answer we needed. There are probably more layers in those images that I just did not get, but as I said, I found this one quite demanding in terms of language skills, so let's hope the reward is more than 2 gems. We get a key to room 8. From the trophy list, we know we need to solve a puzzle in there on rank 8, those 8s again. So let's go do that. It's the room from the last picture. This is also where I got my Explorer trophy for drafting all the rooms from the room directory. Now for the puzzle here, we have 8 boxes representing sins and 8 little animal figurines with the prompts. The penguin says, the sum of my sin as it is penned is a number within the room we are in. The swan says, I recommend you think again if I am ever in a sin far from the fin. And the lion, to first begin, place me within a bin with an N within its sin. The dog says, you won't find my bin in between sin, for I deserve to be in a bin on the end. The bear, if we spend a min or 10 lounging in the den, you will know which bin I'm often in. The monkey says, the bin I tend to wind up in is near the bend in the tail of the skin. The rabbit says, I share a trend with my neighbor's sin. A letter and its twin appear on each bin. And finally the elephant. To my chagrin, my neighbor's sin is written thin to it all in. Now, the room is based on the 7 deadly sins, but they actually put in 8 and added mundanity at the end. As for the solution, we have the following. The monkey goes in hubris, with the location-based clue for being near the tail of the skin of the floor. The lion goes in envy, as it has an N in it. The swan goes in lust, because it wants to be near the fin, and there might be double meaning here with the fin meaning end as well. The elephant goes in wrath, next to gluttony, which is a long word so it has to be made to fit. Penguin goes in gluttony, as it has 8 letters, and we are in room 8. The bear goes in the sloth bin, because he's lounging around in the den. The rabbit was the trickiest for me, but it goes in avarice, as both it and mundanity have a repeated letter within. Dog goes in mundanity, as it wants to be on the end, and that's the end remaining after other clues are done. And this gets me the 8 trophy and some allowance. This puzzle's trail ends here, so now let's return to an older thread. Back when I first got the power hammer, I uncovered this castle puzzle in the chess room. I've been thinking about this one for a while, and I did look up castle and chess, which led me to finding out there's a move called castling in chess, which has the king and rook swap with one another. But since the chessboard here depends on the house layout, that sounded like it might be a pain to do something like this, potentially requiring to draft rooms in specific locations in more than one day. So I wanted to focus on finding more about this first, before I tried to do something about it. First thing, along the word castle, we also have the 2 other columns where more letters could fit. I've been finding various notes around the house which fit with this pattern. The cat note in the kennel, IIOO in the Blackbridge Grotto, ID in one of the passports in the vault, 6 or O on a note in the locker room. There are also 2 environmental clues. Back of the statue in the cloister has 4 letters on it. And back of the bookcase in the secret passage has another set. This one was the hardest to find, since you basically have to use the secret passage wrong. It is possible to see this with the passage open, but you really need to wedge yourself into a corner there. From here we can use the initial word and the letter layout on the notes to place them into the pattern. Cat adds a T to the bottom, cloister has all the corner letters. Locker room note fits over the letter S. This then lets us fit the grotto note, and finally the secret passage adds the last 2. So now we have CIX, add 6, Tor, lore, et. Or very clear. I'm thinking CIX might be 109 in Roman numerals, then add 6 gives 115. The other 3 words are in Origin. Thor appears on the map in geography, reverse of Rot. Rot is also explained in the Rotorna description as clockwise, so Thor is anti-clockwise. Lore is ward and Ed is east. Eastward? So, rotate something, 115, counterclockwise eastward? I don't have anything to rotate right now. Last time I also mentioned unlocking the blue tents in the gift shop, so by now I'm hoping there may be clues there. They cost 400 coins, so I had to chance it in the casino room and get another 100 from the treasure trove. And after that, we also have to find those notes by drafting different blue rooms on rank 8 to get to read different things. By now, I got most of the notes, but not all of them. They seem to explain various mechanics and sometimes lore. The one in the parlor just tells you the answer for the day. But the 2 we're going to focus on today are in the office and the nook. They do indeed tell us that the king and rook can swap, which is how castling works. But I'm still thinking there must be a non-ridiculous answer to this. I have already swapped my chess power to king recently, so what if I just swap it to rook next? Time to do the chess again. Now that I have a list of all the chess pieces, it's easy to know which rooms to draft to have a full set. And when I pick the rook as my next power, we do get a different translation. I'm glad this is as simple as this and not some room drafting in specific location over multiple days as I was thinking at the start of it. A secret door is unlocked. What might be awaiting us here? This whole thing looks like a part of the old ruins, so I assume something related to that. At the end of the passage there is a large room surrounded by statues holding those Morajai puzzle boxes. I hope there's more here than just allowance. There's a faded portrait on the wall, maybe one of the past kings, and of course, a large coffin in the middle with the seal of Orinda Ayres. Let's start cracking those puzzle boxes and see what we get then. Turns out it's not allowance tokens, but it's actual clues, so hopefully this leads us to something significant. The final message we get is, in Ares' court where the king love lays, on the sacred hour that time will phrase, will a youth approach with empty arms, without gifts nor gold nor mannered charms. And in the sky above a brilliant sign, a sullen cross, as 5 stars align, a patient figure, a reckoning great, the black key is lying with the last king of 8. I think I mostly understand. We have to be here at 1:30, the sacred hour, with nothing in our inventory and with all our currency set to 0. It has to be on a day where we have the Southern Cross constellation. I'm just not sure if the patient figure, a reckoning great, is also a requirement we need to meet, or just something that we're going to find here. And the last note is telling us the black key is here, which I think will fit in the treasure trove chest. Well, it looks like all we need to do is make a bunch of things align just right to get the reward here. But this is something I will have to get into next time. And following in the steps of our Grand Uncle Herbert, I am also going to leave you on this cliffhanger here.